Everybody, Dre here. You're watching Harrison Family Values, the podcast, and we're getting started. Man. Thank you guys so much for watching, whether you're watching a live stream right now or you're watching a replay. Greatly appreciate your presence here. Make sure you leave a comment down below if you're watching the replay, and if you're watching live, I want you guys to light up the chat. Light up the chat because we're going to have an interesting conversation. This type of conversation, a lot of people don't really talk about, specifically men. We hear a lot of women talking about their divorce, but unless you're Tyrese, you're not out here talking about your divorce. Whoa, that's mad bright. Hold on. You're not out here talking about your divorce unless you're Tyrese, you know? Like men, we just don't do that, right? But tonight, we're not on our Tyrese type of energy. Wow, this is dark, bright too. Hold on, let me see this. Hold on a second, guys. I'm sorry. That's better. All right. We're not on our Tyrese type of energy, but we are going to try to talk about our perspective, a male perspective, as a divorced man, and the fears that men have about getting remarried. Because as you know, I'm a divorcee and I'm remarried. And the brother I have on today is also a divorcee and got remarried. And his YouTube channel should be way bigger than it is right now. It should be way larger than it is right now. And if you're not subscribed to his channel, I encourage you to do so. And I know you guys are like, well, Dre, who are you talking about? Because you're talking about this guy, telling me to subscribe to the channel. Who is he? Come on, give me a minute. Let me do the introduction, all right? He's going to come on. You're going to love him, all right? We're going to have a nice conversation. And we're coming from a male perspective. And it's going to be a great discussion because it's not like I have a lot of divorced men who got remarried that I can have discussions with. So I'm excited about this opportunity to talk about this. So ladies, if you're watching, get your pencils, get your pens. What's going on, CP the artist is in the chat, and you know Mommy Dearest is in the chat too. What's going on, Mom? Glad you're here. Get your pencils. If you are a divorced man, you know, tune in, leave a comment down below. What we're not going to do is come into this with some negative energy.
We don't do that here.
We don't do that here, all right? We may talk about some things that might be negative, but we try to come with a positive spin because in this channel we try to bring hope to people, the truth to people. But we'll talk about the realities of life. So we're not here to sort of gloss over the things in life that's serious and that could be detrimental to us. But at the same time, we really want to give you guys hope. So without further ado, let me bring on my brother Shon Hyneman. What's going on? Did I say your name correctly, brother?
Yes, you did. You got it right on the first try.
Listen, I try. I'm a teacher, so I try my best to pronounce everybody's names correctly. Yeah, man. But thank you so much. I first saw you. And what's going on, Marley December? Glad you're here. I first saw you on, I forgot whose podcast it was. It was a young lady. Was it Bella Rings? No. It was somebody. And I said, you know what, I really got to connect with this brother because his experience, what he was saying was deep. And you know, on this channel, I talk about faith, family, fatherhood, and manhood. And I'm also a family and marriage counselor. After getting a divorce, and I was a full-time assistant pastor at a church, and I realized that I'm going through my divorce, I'm going through a separation, and the pastors in the church didn't have the skills and they weren't equipped to help me with the issues I was having in my marriage. A lot of the superficial answers to my questions was just pray about it, you know, trust God. And it's hard to trust God when your wife leaves. You got 3 kids you're trying to raise on your own. And your emotions, your feelings are fluctuating. They're going up and down, up and down. You don't know how to feel. And I need some practical steps to help me with this because I didn't know. So after after all that was said and done, I was asked to resign from my position at the church after the divorce was final. And I went back to school to get a degree in marriage and family counseling so that I can help couples that were going through the same thing I was going through in the church to be like, listen, man, like you could probably get through this. Let me help you. And if you can't, you can't. But at least let's have some people who know what they're talking about do the work. But it wasn't easy. And I had custody of my kids after my divorce. So it was very difficult, right? And I found that it was difficult to even put myself out there dating again because I didn't want to. I'm already a divorcee, and I got that stigma attached to me for the rest of my life. But I didn't want to get married and then have that happen again. You know? So I know that you have been divorced and now you're remarried, but I want to get to know a little bit about your background so my listeners, my community here know who you are and what you're about.
Yes. First of all, thanks again for allowing me on this platform. Phenomenal
Pleasure.
platform.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you. I'm glad we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
My name is Shon Hyneman. Been happily remarried for 6 years now. I was previously married for 15 years before going through my divorce. So I was a part of two mega ministries, two churches that really helped them to grow. I always tell people if I wanted to start a church, I know how to. Being under these two ministries, I've been able to see them flourish.
Mm.
So I'm just excited about the opportunity through just learning. I'm an avid book reader. I love learning. I've been talking to.
Oh, I just lost a brother. Hold on. Let's see if we can get him back. I'm not sure what happened. There he goes. There he goes.
Oh, okay. I was wondering.
Yeah, we got you back. All right.
Oh, okay. You lost me for a second. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've coached hundreds of couples, whether that was through the church and even through my own business that is Scared to Remarry. So just a lot of experience. And then just hearing people's problems, especially with men. I have a heart for men because I want men to know that it's okay that if you've been through a divorce, that you can find love again. And you can also do the work on yourself and be accountable for your actions. I believe we heal faster when we are accountable for the things that we've done, knowingly or unknowingly. So.
Yeah. And if you're watching, whether you're watching on Facebook, on YouTube, do me a favor, hit that like button. It helps the algorithm and it helps this video be pushed out to many people. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button right now. So if I can ask you a question. Okay, I have like list of questions I want to make sure because I don't have a lot of time with you, but I want to maximize the time that we do have. Sure. All right. And a CP the artist says, great point. All right, he says, great point. All right. So reflecting on your past marriages, brother, what valuable lessons did you learn that you believe can contribute to a successful and fulfilling marriage?
Oh, great question.
Yeah.
I think taking time to reflect, I think you have to look at what you've been through and being honest with yourself and take the time to reflect. I think that is very important. And you can see, okay, this is where I went wrong. And I talked about accountability as well. I think it's when you look back and you reflect and you can say, okay, I have an issue with this, or I have an issue with that, being honest and getting the necessary therapy. I know that's kind of almost like a buzzword, which is a great thing, right? Yeah. By today's standards. I think also having someone you are accountable to, even outside of therapy, having another man that you can talk to, I think that's very important as well. And also reading great books on marriage and relationships. There's one book I read, Men Are Like Waffles, Women Are Like Spaghetti. Have you read that book?
Not yet, but I heard of it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a great book just to help you understand the opposite sex, So there's great books out there like that, and just taking some time to reflect, even if you need to take some time off from the dating scene or whatever, just to work on yourself. Because now that I'm older, now that I'm more mature, and I got this revelation not so long ago.
Yeah.
If I had the chance to do it over again, I would make enough money. And this isn't saying money's everything. Yeah. I would make enough money to give my wife that option to work or not.
I hear that.
That's something that I think I would reconsider now, just giving her that option, because women are so important. But that's another topic for another time. So
got you.
Make sure I stay on point.
So let me ask you a question. You mentioned therapy, right?
Yes.
I'm an advocate for therapy. I am, but it's become so popularized today that and at the same time weaponized as well. Especially when it comes to men, because first there's a stigma with us men, specifically black men, about therapy. Some of us may think that therapy is only for those who are crazy, but then it's used against us if we do go or if we do need it. So it's not like when like and ladies, I know I'm not saying all of you, so okay, but I've seen podcasts, women on podcasts, and women even on Fox Soul talk about men and their need for therapy because these men are crazy. And so instead of acknowledging that, everybody needs some help on occasion, they weaponize therapy, right, for specifically toward black men to make them feel like there is something wrong with them, which means, with a lot of us, we say, you know what, I'm not going to go to therapy because there's nothing wrong with me. And I think people are misusing therapy, especially today. And if I can just add, I find that a lot of therapists, and especially those of us on YouTube, because I consider myself a marriage counselor. I got, degrees and stuff. But I watch some of their content online, and a lot of it isn't really therapy. It's more an affirming of what people want to hear and not necessarily what people need to hear. So it's all about elevating the person. But in therapy, the end goal is to elevate a person by presenting certain things that they have in their life that might be blockers for them to achieve what they want to achieve, and then giving them the tools, the coping skills, the resiliency to be able to meet those challenges. And I don't see that happening in a lot of what people are presenting on YouTube about therapy and social media about therapy. But I think that is needed. I mean, I wanted to get your take on that.
Yes. Hey, can you kind of rephrase the question? Are you asking like?
So when it comes to men, black men in therapy, what positive way can we look at it, where even if it is weaponized, and to the point where some of us don't want to go because we don't want to be shamed for it, how can we look at it and use it in a way to help us, especially after we've been divorced? Because I think that going to counseling after a divorce would be beneficial to men.
Mm-hmm. Great question. I think you have to find the right therapist for you. I think a lot of times,
yeah,
I think we get into therapy and we're just like, I got a therapist. And it's like, you don't do that when you go and buy a car.
Bro, you know what's crazy? Yeah. Like it's now a flex. It's now a flex for you to say, I go to a therapist, because now it makes you look like, oh, you're emotionally intelligent now because you go to therapy. It wasn't a flex a couple of years ago. Like, if you go into therapy, it's because there's something wrong that you need fixing. But now it seems to be a flex. But go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. Yeah, because a lot of times people gauge dating and relationships like, I'm not talking to you unless you're going to therapy. Therapy, and I love therapy. Therapy is only as good as to what you apply and what you learn from it.
Facts.
So that's the thing, because people can sit in therapy and be like, oh, okay, I'm good. I'm in therapy. If you're not applying it, you got to make sure that you do the necessary hard work that it takes, digging into those childhood traumas, being able to address those things, and being honest with yourself up front and say, you know what, I do have mommy issues, or I've been molested, or whatever it is. And to be able to face it and be honest about that. And then that way you can do the work, because a lot of times people, they're like, oh, I don't think that's me. No, I'm good. Nah, it's like, no, go into therapy with a willing, open spirit. Yeah. For my wife and I, we have 3 therapists. So we have our marriage therapist who we see together. I see my individual therapist, she see her own. So I think for Black men, it's important to find the right therapist for yourself, and then actually do the work that's being presented to you. And you might have to go to 3 or 4 therapists. But you have to know which one. For one, be open to it. Number 2, find the right one for you. Number 3, and when I say do the work, it's more of like what's required of you from that therapist, because the right therapist is going to help. The right therapist is going to get in your business. They're going to not tear you down, but they're going to be honest with you, and then they're going to build you up. And
so true.
You can leave better. Yeah. And I say this all the time. A good therapist is trying to work themselves out of a business. Yep. A good therapist wants to give you what you need, practice the skills, practice it with you, send you out, come back. How you doing? Okay, it worked. Let's keep doing it for a few times.
okay, you no longer need me. All right. But if there's another issue, I'm here for you. You know, like, that's what a good therapist does, to give you the skills for you to operate independently of them, for sure. All right. Let me ask you another question. In what ways have you addressed or overcome the fears and concerns that emerge from your divorce? Like, your whole platform is called Scary to Remarry. And I'm gonna be honest, like, it was scary for me too. It was scary for me too. And before you answer that, like me, I had an opportunity to get to know a couple of young ladies who were amazing, and I wasn't like the type to just date, right? Like, you know, I got to know somebody, and if I liked them, I pursued a deeper relationship with them to determine if we were compatible or not. And after the divorce, compatibility was huge to me, because we can be great, but if we have different differences that would cause us to have issues later on in the marriage, I was like, no, I can't really pursue this any further. We're great. We just might not be great together, and so I'm not sure if that was part of my scariness. It could be, but I just didn't want to marry the wrong one and then have a marriage full of drama. But in what ways have you addressed or overcome the fears and concerns that emerge from your divorce?
I think it was the willingness to love again, for my heart to actually be open. The thing about my ex-wife was I wasn't bitter towards her.
Yeah.
There was no bitterness or resentment. I wished the best for her. So knowing that, I was able to shelf that relationship, that marriage, and be able to pursue someone else. So having that open heart, it allowed me to have empathy or to feel someone else.
Yeah.
You know, so that was one thing for me, because I was like, I can go on this with an open heart, opposed to like just being on the rebound, like, oh, I just need somebody else, you know, because statistically, men remarry faster than women.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a whole different episode. But I think it was the willingness to love again. My whole tagline is love fearlessly. If you're going to do this, do it with your heart open.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what worked for me, was taking a chance and being willing to love again.
Yeah. It took me 10 years. Yeah, it took me 10 years. Like, I was not trying to like jump into that right away. And I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest. I got divorced, and hold on, it's mad dark now. Here we go. That's better. I got divorced, and like, ladies, I say this in jest, but like in my mind, it was like true back then. Like, all women were the devil. Like, I'm like, y'all all stay away from me. I don't want nothing to do with y'all. Like, don't even. And the thing is, when I was 30, right, 29, getting in shape, and it was like an antenna, like a silent radar went off that Pastor Andre's wife left him, and all of a sudden I'm getting, hey, I can bring you over dinner for you and your boys. Do you need any babysitting? And I'll come by and help you clean. I'm like, no, get away. Bye, get away. Like, I don't want nothing to do with any of that. Like, just leave me alone. And that was a tough time, because for me, I value companionship, and I loved being a husband. Like, I loved being a husband. I felt like my calling was in my family. Until this day, my family is the most important thing to me. And I didn't want anybody coming in to ruin that. And actually, after my ex-wife left, I spent like a whole year and a half fighting for the marriage. And it got to the point where I realized I'm the only one fighting. And I can't do this anymore. I can't. I have to let it go. I have to give it to God, and I have to move on. So men, what would you say to men who is in a position where they're in a separation and they really want to work out their marriage, but they know that their wife, right, is like done, and ultimately it's going to end up in a divorce? Like, what would you say to encourage them? And here's what I'm doing, right? Because you work with men and women who are looking to get remarried, right? But what if somebody doesn't want to get remarried? They want to stay married to somebody that doesn't want to be married to them. And pretend like you're talking to me back in 2009, 2010, when I was in that situation? Go.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, so I'm gonna just call you Dre because we kicking it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, Dre. Just call me Dre.
Yeah, Dre, we kicking it. Dre, I know you love your wife. I know you have spent X amount of years with her. I know you all have built a family. It takes two. If she's not willing to fight for it, you cannot make someone love you. Once the love is gone, it's tough to rekindle that. When someone's heart is shut off from you, it's so hard for someone to actually come back and say, okay, let's try to make this work, especially if you've been separated.
True.
Because sometimes, that whole absence make the heart grow fond thing. If you've been separated and that love still not come back, you can't force it. Sometimes even trying to force it is pushing that person even further away from you.
Yeah.
All you can do is become the best version of yourself possible while going through this process, and just work on yourself and look at where you went wrong in the marriage. So that way, if you do plan on remarrying one day, or if you plan on loving again, you'll be in a good space. And like I always say, I believe you heal faster when you take accountability for your actions.
Yeah. And even the Bible says, to the person who is married to somebody that wants to leave, the Bible says, let them go. Let them go. Yes, that's actually a good point. It's a good point. That was hard for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, and I was going to say that I know for me, the last 5 years of my marriage, I knew it was over. We were married. We were just like a shell of a marriage. And she even told me, she said, Shon, I know you don't love me anymore. If you want to go through this divorce, it's okay. I'm like, no, we're going to make this thing work. And I was actually probably doing more hurt than help.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough, it's tough. And that's one of the things, like, I found myself in a state of mourning after the divorce. Like, I mourned, like I lost, like I was experienced death. Like, I mourned. It was tough. It was a real tough thing, having to now relearn what it meant to live in live in life, not being a husband. I was a father, but now that part that I felt so much fulfillment in, I was no longer. And CP the artist says that what can help some people is most people is the no contact method helps. So I agree. He also says, same here. I know that feeling of being married, but it was over. Yeah. I think CP the artist also was married as well. And now a guy's divorced, right? Spent a couple of years in the dating scene, and he's like, yeah, I don't know, man. This marriage thing might not be for me. And I say that, CP the artist and we have conversations like this all the time. And I'm not saying that, like he's never once mentioned anything about being scared to be married again. But there's some men out there, right, that, talk about being scared of getting married. Women too. And your whole platform is about, scary to remarry. So what would you tell somebody? How would you tell somebody that, been married, they're divorced, they're not really happy that they got divorced, but now they have a fear of getting married again? Like, what would you share with them?
Yeah. And let's be honest, fear is real, especially if you spent X amount of years with someone. I think that's the first thing, is being honest with yourself and saying that I am afraid. Like, I don't know if I have what it takes. I know that's what I witnessed for myself. I was like, I just don't know if I have what it takes to, my first train of thought. I don't know. And then, especially if you've been married and you look at these social media sites today, you look at these dating apps, which makes it scary. I will say, though, it's a personal decision. If you want to remarry, it's okay to put yourself out there again.
Yeah.
Only in your timing, though. Don't rush it. Even if you go on a date or two and you're like, nah, I'm gonna retreat. Just go on retreat.
Yeah.
Don't force it if it isn't there. Because one thing, it's easy to kind of bring that excess baggage into another relationship,
Mm-hmm.
think you're healed, and you're really not.
Yeah.
So fear is real, and it's okay to go on a date or two. It's okay if you choose not to remarry, even if you just choose just to date, just to know someone, just for companionship. There's nothing wrong with it.
Mm. I know you just lit a fire under CPD artist. Because him and I had this kind of conversation just the other day. So I know he's going to be in the chat right now. So, see, Dre, see? See? I know why. I'm waiting for it. Yeah. All right. So let me ask you a question. What specific qualities or characteristics should somebody look for in a potential partner when they've been divorced and they're afraid to get remarried, especially if they want to have a healthier marriage?
I think one of them is empathy. Gotta have the empathy. You gotta be willing to take yourself out of a situation and to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes.
Mm.
And oh, go ahead.
But why is that so hard to do today? Because I find that a lot of people find difficulty with that.
We're so consumed with this culture, this selfie. Selfie is a new term, right? Selfie is me. Everything is about me, me. I think back then, and I guess I'm telling my age, we had community.
Mm-hmm.
Everything wasn't always about you. Whether if that was another family member, you was helping somebody else, or your next door neighbor, everything wasn't about you. Now, today, you can create your whole world just based off of your phone. You don't even have to leave your house.
Yeah. Yeah, like you curate. I tell people all the time. You curate your own world or people's perception about the world you live in on social media.
Yes, and I'll say this real quick. I remember one time my wife and I we went to this event in Houston, and it was for like podcasters and content creators, and a lot of people that I met there, I actually was interviewed on a podcast or the show or whatever. So when we met in person, they like, so you and your wife is cool in real life, huh? Like people were really surprised that we actually love each other. And I was like, they're like, I can see it. It just seems genuine. And I was like, was I supposed to lie?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. So what would you share with them?
Oh yeah.
If they want to have. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because you talked about the empathy. I think that's
empathy.
You gotta have empathy, and I think it's hard because we live in a selfie world. Also, I think it's about I'm trying to think of the word for this. I can't think of the word right now. I lost my train of thought. I would say empathy and trust. Trust is very important, right? You got to have the trust factor, and you build trust over time. Of course, trust doesn't come overnight. I think those are the two big ones for now, as far as just getting back out there, and you build trust with spending this time with this person on a regular basis, getting to know, their character, what are their character flaws, all these kind of different things. So I think trust and empathy is key ones right now.
Yeah. Here's a question. Somebody who's been remarried, right? Or who got married to somebody who was previously divorced, right? What would you tell them in how to interact with their husband or wife that's been divorced already? And because truth be told, like, many divorced people, even myself, I'm sensitive about how I act and how I'm treated. And it's not because I am operating in a place of trauma. I found that the traumatic experiences I had in my marriage, I've learned from, and I don't want to experience that again. So I move a little differently so that I don't experience those things, right? And I respond in a way to let people know I don't want to be treated that way. So how would you speak to, or what would you say to somebody who got married to somebody who's been divorced when they have never been married themselves, and how to approach that marriage and that relationship when it comes to conflict or love or whatever it may be?
That's a great question. I think you have to be willing to ask certain questions about the previous marriage. I think that's very important, because we can say about not having baggage and things of that nature. It's hard to give someone a clean slate, a clean dry
Yeah.
erase board, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's some stains on there. There's the marker might be a little more smeared on there. It might be a little harder to get off. So I think it's really about asking those in-depth questions.
Mm-hmm.
And if that person actually willing to open up about the marriage and being honest about everything that happened,
Mm.
because you can unlock so much stuff by asking about the marriage. And if they're being honest about it, it helps give you like a peace of mind. Because you're like, oh, okay, now you know how to navigate this relationship.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I understand your spouse cheated or something like that. So it's like, no, I'm not your spouse. I'm not your ex-spouse, but I can understand though why you may be behaving in this manner. So let's work on this thing together.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like you said, you can move different. And being with someone who been through a divorce, uh, they move different than someone who's never been married.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so it is a difference. I think it's just important to ask those questions, and if they're being honest and vulnerable, and that shows that you healed too, when
Yeah.
you can actually honestly open up about everything that happened.
Yeah. And that's a good point too. CP the artist has a question. It says, "Are Christians unrealistic about the difficulties of finding a good spouse?"
Ooh, great questions.
Pretty much, he wants to know if we're delusional.
um, we can be. It depends. We can be. It depends on who you're talking to, because some people kind of like to put religion on the
Mm-hmm.
issues, right? They kind of like to just kind of Jesus everything and not actually do the work.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think Christians are unrealistic. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
there's great people out here.
Yeah.
I think social media has kind of smeared everything where it's like there's no good men out here, there's no good women. No, they are.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be in a place where you are good so you can find that kind of person, because whatever you
Mm-hmm.
put out there is going to come back.
Mm-hmm.
If you're dating someone and you're blaming your ex-spouse for everything, run from that person,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because they're not healed, and you're going to be a part of their story, and they're going to be blaming the next person about how you was wrong in that situation too.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I spent a lot of time identifying what I did to contribute, and I speak about that often on this channel about how I failed as a husband. Wasn't a cheater, never cheated. I was home every single night. I wasn't abusive. I was an active father. But I just didn't engage the marriage like somebody that wanted to have excitement in their marriage. And I spent a lot of time at church because as an assistant pastor, I'm subject to the hours and the demands of the senior pastor. And I was at church all the time. And granted, I had my kids with me, but I didn't spend as much quality time with my ex-wife that I should have to develop that strong marriage. And the thing is, the church really wasn't concerned about that. So I spent time looking at that and realizing time is important to a spouse. So
yes.
I tried my hardest, and again, like this, in the divorce, there's two people involved, so two people have contributed to that, and I don't spend a lot of time speaking about what my ex-wife did, especially since we share kids together. We now share grandkids together, and all of that is in the past. Like it doesn't faze me anymore, right? Right now, the legacy is are the kids and grandkids and supporting them. Like today, we barely talk. We don't talk. And not because, we just don't like each other. It's
Of
because
course.
our youngest is 16. There really is no reason for us to talk. He's got a cell phone. If she's going to come see him, he's telling me, hey, mom's going to come pick me up this weekend. Okay, have a good time. Like there's like the last time I think I actually called her was a couple of months ago because my youngest was going through basketball practice. And I was like, oh, can you help pay? And it wasn't even like
Yeah.
anything big. It was like a quick text. Hey, he's going to basketball practice. Can you help pay? And prior to that, the last time I called her was when my son got hit by a car. And he's good. He's fine.
Okay.
So, so there's no bad blood, but I understand that whatever happened well over 10, actually now 13. Wait, no, 15, almost 15 years ago. So it's a dead issue. but we got kids involved, and we're trying to, who are adults now almost, and grandkids. But I think that when it comes to divorcing and then remarrying and trying to establish a new family, and that can be challenging as well. What are your thoughts on that? Like, especially if you have kids from a previous marriage.
Yeah, I have a 20-year-old daughter from my ex-wife, so I get it. And my ex-wife and I, we don't talk. There's no reason, right? Like you say, she have a phone, call.
Yeah.
The thing, if you do have younger kids, that can be challenging. They're very challenging, especially if the divorce wasn't amicable.
Yeah.
There could be, and then even with that whole like dating with younger kids, that's that's a whole topic within itself.
Yeah.
Because once she find out that you moved on, that can cause issues.
Sure can.
Yeah, so I think it just depends on the age gap within the kids. Like you say, if you have older kids, you don't have to worry about that anymore. Hey, she's over there, I'm over here. We divorced X amount of years ago. I'm good. I ain't gotta even speak to her anymore.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be like I don't I don't like her and stuff like that. Right. Just like we're two adults and we realize our time is done, and if it has nothing to do with the kids, we really don't need to be in communication. And the Bible says, if at all possible, as it depends on you, be at peace with one another. So that's a position where two people who at one time was connected can be at peace with one another and just be there for the kids. Yeah,
Yeah, I agree, and that should be something that whoever you decide to date or remarry, that they should be totally fine with. Because you prioritize your kids, things of that nature.
So I know I don't have a lot more time with you, but I wanted to ask this. You mentioned about building trust, right?
Yes.
How do you envision building trust and open communication in a new relationship and in a new marriage, given the challenges that somebody might have experienced in a previous marriage?
Oh, it just comes with time. You just got to build it brick by brick. My old mentor, he used to tell me, he said, Shon, great marriages aren't found, they're built. And it takes that one day at a time. Yeah, it takes one day at a time. And because there will be obstacles. There will be challenges to overcome. And it's just all about how you deal with them. We're all human. We all make mistakes and things of that nature. But I say this specifically to men. Don't give her a reason not to trust you. Just don't. And have the discussion, because you can't hold someone accountable for a conversation you never had.
True.
So I think you got to talk about the boundaries. What do you consider trust? Because I realized over time that we talk to people so much that we really don't understand. It's like, well, how do you define trust? Is trust just not sleeping with another woman? So you have to have that conversation about what do you consider trust and how are we going to move forward, especially if you made a mistake.
Yeah.
If you made a mistake, how are we going to move forward with this? Because you broke my trust, right? And that can be hard to build. So you got to talk about it.
Yeah, the communication. Yeah, that's a huge part, because it's difficult to develop trust if there's poor communication. Because now it's like, I did something that you didn't like. I didn't know you didn't like it, but you didn't tell me that you didn't like it. So now you don't trust me for something that you never told me you didn't like me doing. I'm sorry. My bad. Yeah, but that's important.
Yeah,
but that's important, and I think for people who are getting remarried, that's important to realize as well, because a single person, a person who's been single and never married, they operate differently. And some people have been married, and even me, like I have to check myself and say to myself, like, how could you not know that? And it's because, not that I know better, it's just my experience was very different. Like I was married 10 years. Experience is very different. And when you're living with somebody for that amount of time, you see the world differently than people who have not had a chance to live with somebody. And even and I say this, even if you have been cohabitating with somebody, is very different than somebody who's married. Because when you're cohabitating, you can leave at any time. And if you don't have kids, there is nothing, or if you're just renting, there's nothing holding you guys together, probably except for the puppy you guys got together. And then even then, that's not a huge deal. But when you're married, there's legalities involved as well. You can't just leave. You made a commitment so strong that now it's like that you went to the courts and said, I believe in this marriage so much, and I'm committed so much that I want the courts to hold me accountable to it. So I think it's very different. So mindsets take time to adjust, and communication is a huge part of that. And I think, without good communication, you're right. It's not possible to develop trust at all.
Yeah, because something, and I'm learning this in my marriage, right? Like if my wife and I, we're talking, I'll say, how would you define whatever she said? She'll be like, yeah, because the other day, such and such said something to whatever, and I was just like, define that though. So when she tell me what that means, now I have a better understanding, because I'm like, oh, I looked at it totally different, but the way you defined it, so now we have clarity on what she's saying, because we took the time to not just gloss over a conversation, but to actually go in depth and make you think.
Yeah. And just let me clarify, Clement. I wasn't saying that you can just walk away. Like I'm talking in a marriage, there's legalities. If you got legally married, it's very difficult to just walk away scot-free. That's what I'm referring to. When you're cohabitating and you guys don't own anything together, you have no legal documents stating that you were cohabitating unless you live in a common law state. Like you don't have it, so it's easier to walk away than just to walk away in a marriage, because there's legalities involved. And that's that was my reference. So I'm sorry if I didn't clear that up, but make that clear. Yeah. All right. Last question before I let you go. And this is a little bit more personal.
Yeah.
Because I'm asking this because the steps that you take could possibly help somebody else. What steps did you take after you got divorced to put you in a position so that it's not so scary to remarry? You like how I did that, right? Like how
I know, right?
added that.
Yeah.
It's all about branding. I'm trying to brand you in.
That's what's up. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I kept it simple. I got just being accountable for my actions. Even like when I was talking to my wife and we were dating, and she said one of the reasons I loved you is because you were accountable for where you went wrong. And I always tell people, like you said too, I would never get on social media and blast my ex-wife.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of stonewalling. I was emotionally immature. Just shutting down and not communicating.
Yeah.
So those things, they held me back. They damaged the marriage, and she got her part or whatever. I know where I went wrong though.
Yeah. And good. Were you going to say something else?
Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, that self-reflection that I think people who have been divorced must do. And I think you said something about knowing your part in it. I think that's also important, because when you get a divorce and you believe that the divorce was solely because of the other person, when you go into marriage, remarry, and haven't done the work within yourself to realize, to think about and reflect on what are the things that you may have contributed. So let's say, and this is one of those hard things that people don't want to really consider. But let's say your spouse cheated, okay? And then you get a divorce. You go into the next marriage behaving the very same way that you did, right? And it might be causing, again, the same cycle of cheating to happen, because you may not be doing something in your marriage that is meeting the needs of your spouse. So they're going out to cheat again. So now, even if something was done against you, just taking a moment to reflect and say, how did I contribute to that? Like, is there anything that I did or did not do to meet this person's need, to make them feel like they went out and it doesn't have to be cheating, right? It could be, they became emotionally distant. What did I do to cause my spouse to behave this way toward me? What can I have done to help change that behavior, right? Like the Bible says to the unbelieving spouse, right? To the believing spouse, to the unbelieving spouse, you keep, stay in that marriage and allow your behavior and your character win them over, right? That'll change them. So it's like, I'm not saying run into the victim Olympics and or even the opposite, like their behavior you completely internalize. What I'm saying is sometimes after a divorce, you got to say, okay, aside to DV, my wife and my husband, they cheated on me. Is it possible that I was not meeting a specific need? Right? My wife and my husband spent 80 hours at work. All right. Is it possible that I made it extremely difficult for them at home and they would rather be there instead of at work? Like there's things that we got to consider, and that's part of self-reflection. And it doesn't have to be that severe. It could be light. And also self-reflection, if you are married or remarried, and this is for those of you guys that are married, will help you. Because now you could be in a situation where you can help optimize your marriage by taking those steps that you can take to make the marriage better and make the changes you need to make. Because if I want my spouse, my wife, to interact with me better, maybe I need to be a little bit more softer. Maybe I need to be a little bit more understanding. Okay? Maybe I need to communicate a little better. And so on and so forth. But yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro.
Oh, no, that's good. Because I was going to say, statistically, I think, because the divorce rates go higher the second time around, I think it's 67%.
Yeah.
And then like third time is 73%. I believe it's like 73% for third marriages. So a lot of times people are rarely taking into account the things that they've done. And I don't know why it's so hard for people to do the introspective work.
Yeah.
Is it just because that they're hurt? Why is that?
Well, it's I'm not sure if you're asking like hypothetically, but like I think, as you mentioned before, it's the social media, right? You don't have to self-reflect, on a picture anymore. Like you look at a picture and say, you take 17 pictures in a row and then pick the one that you like the best. People don't look at the mirror and see their flaws anymore. They just choose whatever one they like the best. We don't have to do that self-reflection anymore. We don't. And and today, everybody else is the problem. Remember, right? You either the king or you're the queen, right? When you lose a friend, right? You lose a friend. You're not losing a friend. You're gaining peace. We're living in a world now where a lot of things that happen, a lot of negativity that happened to us, we bring on ourselves, but we blaming somebody else for it. And then we got people in our circle that's not in our lives to check us anymore, right? We got people in our lives that tell us exactly what we want to hear. Exactly what we want to hear. Some of us don't even talk to our parents right now because, our mother and father was telling us, you're acting like a dummy. You need to stop behaving this way. How dare you talk to me that way? It's the truth. And we don't want the truth anymore. We don't want the truth, So yeah, I think that's part of, I believe, part of the reason why. But I wasn't sure if you were just asking hypothetically, but I just wanted to share that.
And yeah, no, I was kind of asking you because I think that's just a common thing with the divorce rate and why they're so much higher. And like you said, we've curated this world that everything is just about us now. Yeah. And unfortunately, the divorce rate will continue to rise until we learn to be accountable. I have a shirt that says accountability isn't a curse word. It's not, no offense. It's just like, just take a second and just look. Yeah. Have you considered,
Yeah. Yeah. True. I know I went longer, 4 minutes longer than I should have. But if you wanted to share any closing remarks, and if you could share your social media platforms so that handles so that people can get in touch with you. And also for those that are watching on YouTube and Facebook, I put in the chat his YouTube channel, so please go over there and subscribe. And if you're watching the replay and haven't liked this video yet, like the video right now. But if you're watching the replay, if you look in the description, his channel's down there as well. So please go to this brother's channel, watch his content, and subscribe to his channel. Floor is all yours, my brother.
Well, first of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I know we had to work out some schedule, had to work out those times, and we actually made it happen. So I'm grateful for that. The website is scarytoremarried.com. All one word, scarytoremarried.com. And you can find me on all social media platforms at Scary to Remarry. On Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, all of those. I have some phenomenal guests. Looking forward to bringing Dre on the show as well. So stay tuned for that.
All right, cool. We should have did this on Halloween. It would have been dope to do this like a live show, Scary to Remarry on Halloween. Not that I do Halloween, but that would have been funny.
Yeah,
man. But I appreciate your time, and I'm glad that we had an opportunity to do this. I've been wanting to do this since I think I first reached out to you in August. Yeah, in August, and wanted to have this conversation. But yeah, and give me the date, the time, and I'm there, brother.
Yeah, all right, I'll hit you up in the inbox.
All right, cool. All right, so let me let you off here. Give me 1 second. All right, guys. So, wait, did I say thank you? I did say thank you, right?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
All right, thanks, my brother. All right, all right. Hold on 1 second. All right, listen, man. That this is just the first of many conversations. We'll do a part 2 on his channel, but for you to watch it, you have to go over to his channel and hit the subscribe button and join his community over there, Scary to Remarry on YouTube, and follow him on all his other social media handles. Divorce, I'm pro-marriage. But some cases, divorce is inevitable, and God allows divorce in certain circumstances. And when you're trying to get back out there, it could be very scary. And just like Brother Shon said, make sure that you do the work within yourself first before you consider putting yourself out there, because the damage that you experience, the trauma that you experienced that you did not heal from, that you did not address, will spill over to marriage, and then you'll wind up being divorced once again because you didn't do the work within yourself. So be reflective, and hit him up if you have any questions. Hit me up if you have any questions. And with that being said, I'm going to end the live stream. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I greatly appreciate you being here. If you have not done so, and you've made it this far in the live stream, please hit that like button. It severely helps us out with the algorithm and helps promote this video to those who may not usually watch it, okay? And if you're not subscribed to the channel, join the Harrison Extended family by hitting the subscribe button and the bell notification next to it. And by doing so, you'll be part of the Harrison Extended family. Now, if you would like to be part of the Harrison Extended family through memberships or through Patreon, you can go hit the membership button down below. And you can go to patreon.com/Harrison Family Values. The tiers are identical. We have third cousins, first cousins, second cousins, and siblings. Your monthly support will allow us to keep this channel going, this podcast growing, and getting guests, and just trying to be a light in the world. And let's say you don't want to just give money every month. You don't want to give free money away, right? There's another way. If you look down below, we have merch. You can actually purchase things like this coffee mug, and this coffee mug is good. Like I haven't been using anything else other than this. We have coffee mugs that has our channel logo, which will be changing soon. Shout out to CP the artist, and other phrases like "Did you pray about it?" and other stuff. We have hoodies, T-shirts, cantinas, water canteens. We have it all. So please consider going to the shop in the YouTube section and support the channel by picking up merch. You'll be giving us money, but you'll be getting something in return, okay? And if you'd like to purchase my book, you can go to amazon.com/Harrison Family Values. No, what am I talking about? Sorry, scratch that. Amazon.com, and then search From a Fatherless Father to His Sons. That's the title of the book, and you can purchase your book there. And that's it. I really appreciate you guys for watching, and until the next upload or live stream, I'm out. Peace.